You're not here by chance. This video found you at a precise moment, in a vibrational gap where your spirit is ready to receive something beyond words. Nothing happens by coincidence when it comes to awakening truths. There's a part of you that has already begun to remember, even if your mind still denies it. A part that knows there's another reality beyond the one you've been told, a reality where fear doesn't dominate, but dissolves. Before you begin, before any code is revealed, listen to this. The fact that you're here now means you're ready. Ready to see what was previously hidden, to recognize that the cage isn't outside, but inside, to cross a threshold you can never close again. Don't watch this video with your head, watch it with your chest. Don't just listen with your ears, listen with your skin, with your cells, with your entire presence, because what you are about to hear is a code. And if you welcome it in the right silence, it will begin to work within you without the need for words. Now, close your eyes for just a moment, breathe, and let your soul recognize the message. It won't be just a video, it will be an awakening, and you will never be the same again. If these first words moved you, if you recognized yourself in even a fragment of what was said, then like it immediately. I'll feel it resonate, I'll know you think the same way, that you too are ready to break the invisible chain. And if you feel that what you're listening nourishes you, uplifts you, reminds you of who you truly are, consider subscribing to the channel. It's the most authentic way to support this journey and allow us to continue offering you content that awakens, nourishes, and liberates. You're about to understand what no one has ever revealed to you. The fear that paralyzes you wasn't born with you. It was installed like a virus. And now you're on the verge of discovering the hidden code that can erase it from your mind forever. Take a deep breath, because this isn't just a video, it's an activation. If you've ever felt that block in your chest just when you were about to act, to speak, to show yourself, if you've ever frozen even when you knew exactly what you wanted to do, then pay attention. This isn't weakness, this is programming. And this programming was built to keep you obedient, restrained, silent. Here comes the first truth. The fear you feel isn't yours. It has been cultivated for centuries by systems that feed on your insecurity, so that you never discover what you're truly capable of. You grew up thinking this was normal, but it's not. This is a vibrational cage. And today, you will witness the unlocking of that cage. This is what we call a code. The Egyptians already knew it, and the hermetic schools protected it. Thoth left it recorded not in beautiful words but in precise practices, and one of those practices is about to be activated now. You will do it with me. Feel where the fear resides in your body. It could be in your chest, your throat, your stomach. Now breathe deeply into that spot, and repeat in your mind, I am presence, I release this fear. Does it seem simple to you? Only if you are watching this video as a distraction, but if you do it with intention, your system will already begin to vibrate differently. The field shifts because this practice is not symbolic, it is energetic, and this is only the beginning. But the most powerful part is still sealed, and when you hear the first hidden code left by Thoth, you will understand why no one wants you to discover it. Because when fear dissolves, you become something that terrifies any system of control. You become invincible. Now, if you wish to cross the next portal, proceed, because that is where the authentic truth begins. Where there is fear, the heart is absent, and where the heart is absent, the spirit cannot speak. Before a new reality reveals itself, there's always a force trying to stop you from moving forward. It doesn't manifest as a monster or a clear threat. On the contrary, sometimes it comes as a subtle thought, a sigh, a doubt, a feeling in your stomach that stops you for no apparent reason. This is the guardian of the threshold, the final barrier between your current awareness and the next stage of your expansion. You won't see it with your physical eyes, but you will feel it appears whenever you're about to break an old pattern. Every time you think about speaking your truth, making a different decision, moving away from what's expected, it manifests as that voice whispering, what if it goes wrong? What if they judge you? What if it's too late? That voice isn't yours alone. It's part of a collective programming that guards the gates of true change. What's interesting is that this symbolic guardian figure is present in almost every authentic spiritual tradition. The Egyptians called it the dragon at the door, The Vedas saw it as a manifestation of Mara, the illusionist. In Hermeticism, it's described as the bringer of doubt, and in shamanism, as the spirit that tests the seeker's intention. In each case, the pattern repeats itself. There's a force verifying whether you're truly ready to cross the portal. But here's the most important detail. The guardian isn't against you. It doesn't want to stop you out of malice. It's just a force that tests your intentions. It exists because the next level of awareness requires responsibility, and responsibility without preparation leads to collapse. This is why fear manifests before expansion, because without it, you would unconsciously enter a space you're not yet ready to inhabit. Fear, at this point, is like the fire that protects the temple, burning the unprepared, filtering out those who aren't ready. But at the same time, it purifies those who choose to cross it with awareness. This is the test of the threshold. And this is why many people stop right here, because they confuse the ego's fear with the voice of intuition. They mistake discomfort for a sign that it isn't meant to be. But not every discomfort is a warning of danger. Sometimes it's a sign that your soul is expanding. The question isn't whether fear will manifest. It always does. The real question is, what do you do when it manifests? Do you retreat or face it? Because when you look the guardian in the eye without running away, something happens, something very subtle and very powerful. The illusion begins to dissolve, the inner voice changes tone, and what once seemed like a wall begins to reveal a passage. This passage doesn't lead to a physical place. It leads to a vibrational state, a new frequency where you access parts of yourself that were dormant. You begin to realize that fear wasn't the problem. The problem was how you reacted to it. When you stop resisting, stop running away, stop trying to fight fear with force, it transforms, shows its true nature. And here's the change. Fear wasn't there to destroy you, it was there to protect what's most sacred within you. But that sacredness reveals itself only to those who prove themselves worthy. Worthy not in a moral sense, but in an energetic sense. It reveals itself to those who choose to cross over even with a pounding heart, even with a trembling voice, even without any guarantee that it will work. First code. The name reveals the portal. It is precisely at this moment, when the guardian weakens and the mind begins to quiet, that the veil of illusion becomes visible for the first time. Because fear, as you have known it until now, has never been just a feeling. It is a code, an ancient program running in the background of your consciousness. And now that you have crossed the threshold, you begin to see the invisible commands that have been installed without your awareness. The mind believes it is in control, but it is only following orders that were not created by you. From the beginning of your life, you have been exposed to a repetitive sequence of beliefs, ideas, narratives, and experiences that have shaped the way you think, feel, and act. And do you know which pattern is most reinforced? The pattern of limitation, doubt, and separation. Because the more you believe you are alone, fragile, small, or vulnerable, the easier it is to keep yourself under control. This programming is not new. It is ancestral, passed down from generation to generation like a silent legacy. You were born into a vibrational field already charged with stories of fear, scarcity, judgment, and guilt. From childhood, commands began to install themselves. Don't speak too loudly. Don't believe in yourself too much. Better not to try. What if you fail? Your mind absorbed each of these phrases as absolute truth. And over the years, those commands became intertwined like roots, creating an internal structure that today seems like you, but isn't. This you, which is afraid of making mistakes, which feels small in the face of life, which remains silent when it should speak, is not your true self. It is your conditioned self. It is the part of you that responds to the installed programming. And here's the point. This programming has been reinforced every day from multiple sources. School has taught you to compete, obey, and repeat. The media has taught you to fear, to compare, and to distrust everything. And even religions, in many cases, have been distorted to fuel guilt and submission, not expansion and inner truth. But none of this happened by chance. The mind programmed by fear is highly controllable, and the system that governs the modern world knows it. A fearful person consumes more, works more, obeys more, questions less, and above all, vibrates at a lower frequency, which is exactly where the collective consciousness must be maintained for nothing to change. Because if people begin to vibrate in truth, clarity, and courage, the game is over. This is why modern fear has become much more sophisticated than primitive fear. Today, it no longer manifests itself simply as the fear of death. It disguises itself as anxiety, comparison, perfectionism, and procrastination. You don't realize you're afraid, but you feel stuck. This is the new form programming has found to protect itself. It hides it. It convinces you that it's normal, that everyone lives this way, that everything is fine, but it isn't. You've already sensed that something is wrong, that this frenetic, automatic life without deep meaning cannot be the purpose of human existence. And that perception is the first spark of deprogramming. When you begin to doubt your own mind, a new realm of possibilities opens up. Because if you are not your thoughts, then who are you? This is the question that begins to deactivate the code. And the first step to doing so is consciously identifying the pattern. Name the fear, give form to what's holding you back, because as long as fear remains in the darkness, it's in charge. But when you bring it into the light of consciousness, it weakens. This is the first real exercise. Stop now and ask yourself, with brutal honesty, what exactly are you afraid of losing? Name it, feel it, observe it, don't judge it, simply bring it to light, because everything seen begins to dissolve. And now that you've begun to see the threads of this ancestral programming, you're about to access the first seal left by Thoth. A seal that can't be deciphered by the logical mind, but only felt with the right vibration. And when you name it, something invisible breaks. It's not just a feeling, it's a vibrational disruption. Because fear, when left unnamed, operates in the shadows, moving like an invisible virus that infiltrates your thoughts, your reactions, your behaviors. But the moment you speak out loud what was trapped inside, the game begins to change. This is the first code left by Thoth. Simple in form but profound in power. Naming means breaking the spell, because fear, when left unformed, grows. It feeds on your attempt to hide it. But when you face it, when you say with presence, "I'm afraid of this," you stop running away, and in that precise moment, the energy that was once frozen begins to move. This is what the hermetic traditions call the first mirror, the act of looking within yourself with clarity and courage, not with judgment, not with guilt, but with presence. And presence is what dissolves the fog. Because fear needs darkness to survive, it needs you to remain unconscious, reacting automatically, repeating patterns you don't even notice. But the simple act of naming what you feel already illuminates the inner space. And here's a detail that changes everything. You don't need to understand fear, you don't need to explain it, rationalize it, or justify it. What you need is to acknowledge it, because what is acknowledged loses its power to command. And this is the secret behind the code. Naming means taking command. It means removing fear from the driver's seat and putting your conscience in its place. Now imagine a fear you carry. Not just any fear. Think of the one that paralyzes you, the one that makes you procrastinate, the one that makes you self-sabotage without realizing it. Maybe it's the fear of rejection, of failure, of not being good enough. Take that fear and say clearly in your mind right now, "I recognize that I carry a fear of," and complete the sentence. This isn't a symbolic exercise. It's a vibrational realignment, because what is brought into consciousness begins to deprogram. The ancient Egyptians represented this moment with a symbol. The eye opening in the midst of darkness. A sign that something has been seen and can no longer reign in silence. That eye, according to the hidden scriptures, isn't on your forehead, it's in pure perception. It activates when you observe without judgment, when you feel without collapsing, when you name without running away. And that's why the code it begins with something so direct. Observing and naming. But not just any observation. It's an observation without deception, without pretense, without disguise. It's not saying, "I'm afraid," and then immediately justifying it by saying it's normal or that everyone feels it. No, it's truly feeling it. It's saying, "I'm afraid of this," and stopping there, in silence, breathing in your truth. Second code, the breath of presence. This is exactly where the second code begins to operate. When the energy of fear, once hidden and frozen, begins to move, you must direct it, because energy that moves without direction can turn into chaos. But energy that moves with awareness becomes a creative force, and the body is the altar where that direction occurs. Fear doesn't just live in the mind, it lives in the body, depositing itself as tension, rigidity, and contraction. Have you noticed that when you feel fear, your chest closes, your breathing shortens, your abdomen tightens, your shoulders rise like armor? This isn't a coincidence. It's the exact reflection of your vibrational field trying to protect itself. And if you don't interrupt that cycle, that protection turns into a prison. This is where the second code left by Thoth comes into play, an ancient code that can be activated right now. And it doesn't require complex rituals or technical knowledge. It requires presence. Breathing, when done with intention, becomes a spiritual command. It's not just air coming in and out, it's your awareness moving the energy exactly where it was trapped. Start like this. Bring to mind a situation that still triggers anxiety, fear, or discomfort. Observe the place in your body where this manifests itself. It could be your stomach, your chest, your throat. Don't try to change it, simply notice it. Now send your breath to that spot as if you were sending light into the shadows. On the inhale, repeat in your mind, I am presence. On the exhale, say, I release this fear. This practice, when done with intention, is not symbolic, it's vibrational. It acts directly on your autonomic nervous system. And more than that, it sends a signal to your energy field that you are taking charge, that you are no longer hostage to automatic reactions, that a new order is establishing itself in that very moment. The ancient Egyptians taught that breath is the messenger between worlds, between the visible and the invisible, between the physical and the subtle. This is why conscious breathing is considered a key to initiation, because it brings you back to the present moment, and it's in the present that fear begins to lose ground. Fear only exists when you're trapped in the past or projected into the future, but when you're fully here now, it has nowhere to hold on. It's as if presence dissolves the space where fear used to hide. Breathing is what anchors that presence in the body. And when done with intention, it unlocks the flow of vital energy, the same flow that fear had paralyzed. And this unlocking isn't just energetic, it's emotional, psychological, and spiritual. You might feel waves of warmth, you might feel relief, you might even cry, don't block anything, because what's coming out is what no longer needs to stay. You're not just breathing, you're reprogramming. Because fear, now that it's been named and set in motion, doesn't simply disappear, it begins to change shape. And in that process of change, it reveals its true face, what it's always tried to hide from you, what it fiercely guards. And here's the crucial point. Fear doesn't hide danger, it hides a desire. Yes, what you fear most is often what your soul most deeply desires. But that desire has been repressed, rejected, or judged so many times that it has become a threat, transformed into a shadow, become fear. But deep down, at the very center of that fear, there is a pure, original, true impulse, a life force, a longing of the soul to express itself. This is where the veil of Maya begins to fall. Maya, in the Vedic tradition, is the name given to illusion, the hall of mirrors that makes us see the world upside down, where love becomes a risk, where expression becomes shame, and where freedom becomes a threat. Maya is the system that inverts the signals, that makes you flee from what would truly liberate you. And this is why fear is not the enemy. It is the inverted mirror of what you most need to integrate. Now look closely. If you fear being seen, perhaps what your soul truly desires is to be visible, recognized, heard. If you fear failure, perhaps your soul yearns to serve with purpose, to create something that impacts the world. If your fear is rejection, perhaps the deepest desire within you is to love and be loved truly. For that is what fear does. It protects what has not yet been embraced. And this is why fear isn't the enemy, it's the inverted mirror of what you most need to integrate. Now look closely. If you fear being seen, perhaps what your soul truly desires is to be visible, recognized, heard. If you fear failure, perhaps your soul yearns to serve with purpose, to create something that impacts the world. If your fear is rejection, Perhaps the deepest desire within you is to love and be loved truly. For that is what fear does. It protects what has not yet been embraced. And this is why fear isn't the enemy, it's the inverted mirror of what you most need to integrate. Now look closely. If you fear being seen, perhaps what your soul truly desires is to be visible, recognized, heard. If you fear failure, perhaps your soul yearns to serve with purpose, to create something that impacts the world. If your fear is rejection, perhaps the deepest desire within you is to love and be loved truly. For that is what fear does. It protects what has not yet been embraced. Third code, the fire of alchemical initiation. Crossing the veil is not the end, it's the beginning. The moment you see the desire behind the fear is the same moment you come face to face with your rawest, most intense, most pulsating truth. And this is where many turn back, because the soul's desire doesn't arrive gently, it arrives like fire, burning away everything that is false, everything built on fear, control, convenience, setting fire to the internal structures that no longer support your greatness. And this is precisely what activates the third code, the fire of initiation. This fire isn't external, it's not symbolic, it's vibrational. It's an internal warmth that manifests when you choose to remain present within your pain without running away. When fear tries to make you shrink and you remain, breathing, feeling, not reacting, simply being fully there. This is true courage, silent courage, the kind that doesn't scream, but remains steadfast when everything inside you wants to escape. Thoth called this moment the living transmutation, the instant when the lead of fear begins to melt in the warmth of presence until it transforms into conscious gold. Gold here has nothing to do with wealth. It has to do with clarity, with sovereignty, with silent power. That gold appears only when you stop fighting fear and begin to move through it from within. Trying to overcome fear with force doesn't work. It only makes it stronger. Fear is like a shadow. The more you fight it, the more it surrounds you. But when you light the fire of observation, of feeling present without judgment, something changes. The fire doesn't destroy you. It destroys what you are not, dissolves accumulated traumas, inherited voices, invisible conditioning, and in their place, space remains. That space is where the new you is born, but this new version doesn't come from ready-made formulas. It comes from an internal gesture. I stay, I won't run away, I can face my truth. And it is here that the true alchemist reveals himself. Because the alchemist is not the one who transforms lead into gold in an external laboratory. The true alchemist is the one who can remain conscious at the center of his own chaos until consciousness transforms everything. This is the final test of fire. You are able to feel your pain until it transforms into wisdom, but fire alone does not open the next portal, it only prepares the ground. For fire purifies, but it is the word that activates, and this brings us directly to the fourth code, the creative word. Because it is not enough to feel, you must declare, and not just any old word. The words you speak carry vibration. They are much more than sound, they are commands. And the universe, the energy field, and reality respond to the vibration of what you emit. Everything you say with emotion and intention becomes living programming. If you feel fear and say, I can't, I'm weak, this is not for me. Your body believes it, your energy believes it, and everything around you begins to vibrate in alignment with that declaration. Now, if you look fear in the eye and even trembling, say, I am capable, I am guided, my voice matters. Something instantly shifts, because the field begins to adapt to the new code, and this code is written by you. Thoth knew that speech is not just language, it is condensed frequency. That's why the way you speak about yourself is sacred. It doesn't matter if you don't believe it yet. What matters is that you declare it, because what is repeated with emotion becomes internal reality, and internal reality becomes vibration, and vibration shapes the world. Repeat after me now, if you will. My voice touches hearts. I am capable of holding my truth. What I say builds my reality. It's not magic, it's vibrational physics. It's internal alignment. Fourth code, the courageous act that shifts the quantum field. And in this moment, when the word has already shaped the field, the universe pauses, listens, but also waits. It waits for you, Because it's not enough to hear and it's not enough to speak. The field reconfigures only when there is action. True action, courageous action. Not the grandiose kind that changes the whole world at once, but that small, almost invisible step you take even when you're afraid, that you take despite the fear. And that step changes everything. Thoth called this moment the vibrational turning point. It's when your body is still shaking, but you move anyway. It's when the inner voice still says, "This won't work," yet you act. That gesture sends a direct command to the unconscious, and the higher self is now in command. No longer the programmed mind, the trauma, or the expectations of others, but the center of consciousness that has chosen not to identify with limitation. That gesture is a code, and it's one of the most powerful. Most people wait until they feel ready to begin, waiting for the fear to disappear before taking action, and that's why they remain stuck in the cycle for years, decades, lifetimes. But the real leap occurs when you act even while feeling fear, because that action breaks the structure of the old programming, tears the script, reconfiguring the vibrational body in real time. This is where the quantum field responds, because the field doesn't respond to scattered thoughts, it responds to the coherence between intention, word, and action. When you feel fear, declare courage and act with presence. A new pattern takes hold. External reality begins to reorganize around the new frequency. The world begins to mirror the new you that has emerged. And this action doesn't even have to be big. It can be recording a video, saying no, opening up to apologize, writing a letter, asking for help, starting an old project, looking someone in the eye and telling the truth. Any symbolic act done with presence becomes living alchemy, because it seals the new vibration, anchors the code in the body. And when that happens, something much greater begins to move in your favor. You feel it, as if a force beyond the ego begins to gently push the wind in your favor. People step forward, opportunities align, intuition becomes clearer, because the universe responds to courage. Not arrogant courage, but the kind that says, "I'm afraid, but I'm going anyway." And this is where true invincibility begins to manifest, not as an absence of fear, but as vibrational independence. The invincibility that Thoth taught wasn't physical armor. It was an internal state in which fear could still appear but no longer held power. It manifests, is seen, is welcomed, but it no longer defines your decisions, no longer limits your steps, no longer imprisons your gifts. In that state, you no longer feel above pain. You simply cease to be controlled by it. Love, in truth, becomes stronger than the fear of loss. The desire to serve overcomes the fear of judgment. The freedom to be who you are becomes more important than the need for approval, and this is true freedom. This is the culmination of the journey, the climax of alchemy. You haven't conquered fear, you've transcended the game. Fear may still arise, but it no longer finds a place to settle because there's no longer any vibrational space available for it. You've already filled that space with presence, with breath, with words, with action. You've reconfigured the field. And now, what was once the enemy becomes the master. What was once the obstacle becomes the impulse. What once paralyzed you becomes a bridge. And as you cross that bridge, understand that you are not here to avoid fear. You are here to cross it with presence, with truth, with courage. And when you cross it, you become a living example. You become a path for others to cross in turn. And this is the invisible legacy of the initiates, those who cracked the code, those who dared to feel, speak, act, and remain until fear was no longer necessary as a barrier. Now that the code has been activated, all that remains is to seal this frequency so that it will never be lost again. If you've come this far, it's because something inside you has already begun to awaken, and it means you've moved through, you've felt, you've recognized, you've breathed even in the places where you wanted to close yourself off. You've let something move within, and that's all. It wasn't just listening, it was a silent initiation. Something within you has already changed, and all you have to do is honor that change, respect it, cultivate it. Grand gestures aren't necessary. What's needed is a choice. Not to go back, not to shrink, not to betray what you've just remembered. Because now you know, the fear wasn't yours, it was a code, and you saw it, you named it, you moved through it. Now it's up to you to decide whether to let go of the old version of yourself and make room for who you truly are. No one will do it for you. But if you feel like it, you won't be alone, because those who respond to this call recognize themselves, even without speaking to each other. If you felt this vibration, if something within you has trembled and then aligned, leave a like. It's a silent gesture yet full of presence, and I'll know you've truly understood the message. Write a new word in the comments, one of your own, one that doesn't yet exist, but is born now from this state of consciousness. And if you feel you want to continue this journey with us, subscribe. This isn't just a series of content, it's a field we build together, a frequency that grows with every soul that aligns with it. Thank you for being a part of this sacred moment. I wish you the courage to stay where everyone else is fleeing, the strength to choose what nourishes you even when it's scary, and the beauty of remembering who you truly are. We'll see each other again soon, but what was activated within you will never go away.